Hi Yr12, I hope you've had a really lovely Easter and you've got some rest. Another 3 weeks of lockdown, so it looks like this way of working is going to be at least for the foreseeable. So I'm going to go through the Easter homework. Hopefully you've all got on okay with it yourselves. From the ones that people have sent me, they're looking really good, so well done. So I'm just going to go through the questions, the evaluation task, and then the model answers for the exam questions. I've already uploaded the model answers, so if you want to have a quick look, if you've already finished the booklet, then please do so. So there's just a checklist, just to double check you've got everything. A couple of you have been asking me what to do with this. You don't need to actually do anything, it's not an activity, you just need to check that you've got all your notes for Lombroso, Sheldon, Jacobs, XYY, adoption studies, etc. If you are missing anything, make sure you send me an email so I can send it to you. Obviously you won't have access to the shared area at the moment, but I still do, so if you are missing anything, just let me know and I can send you it across. So okay, so I'm just going to go through the answers to the questions. Hopefully these were relatively straightforward. Atavistic then, I've just put primitive features or anything like that. You can kind of put evolutionary throwback if you want to, something like that. Physiological theories, Lombroso and Sheldon. Genetic theories, Jacobs, XYY, and Mednick's adoption study. Make sure that you're not getting these confused, okay? I'm going to come on to the branches a little bit later, but just to remember, it's really, really important that you can differentiate between the different types of theory. Okay, atavistic features. There's loads you could have had. I've gone from long arms, sloping forehead, and pointed nose, but you can pick any of the ones that you want. Physical shape of the head and face, born criminal, that's obviously Lombroso. What do the theories have in common? Now, I've put that they've both are physiological theories, okay? So basically, crime is caused as a result of somebody's physical features or physical appearance. So for Sheldon, obviously, it's body type. For Lombroso, it's kind of the face, facial features, that type of thing. Okay, endomorph, soft and rounded, anything along those lines is fine. How many men did he use? Now, there's a lot of back and forth about this one because the different textbooks say different things. So 4,000 is the answer that I am looking for, okay? So always stick to that number and you won't go too far wrong because that is what's in the WJC endorsed textbook, okay? So I'm aware there might be a couple of different numbers there, but just go for 4,000, that should be fine. Ectomorph, shy, reserved, fragile, any of those is fine. Definitely not an ectomorph at the minute with the amount I'm eating. I don't know if everybody else is the same, but hey ho. In fact, you can see my massive pile of sweets there that I ordered. Not just for me, but still. Needs must. Lombroso, where's he from? Italy, if you didn't get that one. So, according to Sheldon, which body type is the least likely to be criminal? Okay, that's your ectomorph. Most likely mesomorph, obviously that muscular build. Person with Jacob's gene, so John Wayne Gacy, if you remember the quite horrible YouTube clip I showed you on that. So you can go through those. The gene that's associated with criminality is obviously XYY. Difference about these genes, okay, so it's just an extra Y chromosome, so normally you have an XY if you're a male, okay, but if you receive this extra chromosome, then it would be an XYY, so that's the difference. The characteristics, again, you could have had any of them. I've gone for aggressive, low IQ and behaviour problems. How many people suffer from this condition? So 15 per 1,000 in the prison, and in the general population it's obviously 1 per 1,000. Adopted children, who conducted the research, that's obviously Mednick. Again, there's different numbers in each textbook, okay, but I would definitely go for the 14,000 mark if I were you, okay, because that's the one the endorsed textbook says, so that's just the best number to go for. And the study took place in Denmark. So hopefully you haven't done too bad on those. What I suggest you do, if you're not doing this already, do them without your notes. Go back and mark them with your notes and then have another go, maybe in 2 days' time, just to see what you're remembering and what you're retaining, just like we would in class anyway. Okay. So, summary of information, I'm not going to go through that. Again, this is just a very, as you can see, very basic of all the different types of theories. So obviously make sure you're using that in addition to your class notes as well. Okay. Evaluation points, very, very important, because these are where the longer mark questions are going to be. So you need to make sure you remember them, and you're remembering the studies to back up your points as well. So remember, your PEE paragraphs are really important here. So number 1, lower order intelligence. Now this one, I think, was probably maybe one that might have thrown you guys off a little bit. The bit you need to be looking out for is that it says lower order intelligence. And if you remember, okay, from the work we've done in class, lower order intelligence or lower IQ, that would be Jacob's XYY, and that would be a strength, okay? So some genetic basis to criminality. Next one, focuses too heavily on genetics and ignores the behaviourist approach. To be honest, it could be either of those two. It is in the Jacob section, however, you can use it for Mednick as well. So that's a key weakness you can use for both. Number of studies that have confirmed there is a small association between bodybuilding and criminality. Obviously Sheldon, and that would be a strength. Does not take into account that people's somatype is not fixed, so that it changes, so that would be Sheldon, and then a weakness. Alder et al. Okay, indicated possible aggressive and violent behaviour is least partly determined by genetic factors. So aggressive, violent, Jacob's XYY, and then that would be a strength. Move on a little bit. So, Butcher and Taylor, okay, less attractive individual. So again, it's talking about the facial appearance. So that would be Lombroso. More likely to be considered guilty, so that would be a strength. Scientific racism, really key weakness for Lombroso. I think it's one of the easiest ones to remember. So that would be a weakness. Could not really explain how ectomorphs and endomorphs can also be criminal. So Sheldon, weakness. Good size sample was used, okay, again, I suppose, I think you probably could look at a couple of others for this, but this is actually under Sheldon, so make sure you're going for this one, because that'll be what will be on the mark scheme, okay, so Sheldon and a strength, always better to have a control sample. Next one, 60% were mesomorphs, while in non-delinquent sample there was only 31%, so again, mesomorphs, ectomorphs, endomorphs, that would be Sheldon. And a lack of control group is Lombroso and a key weakness. So again, hopefully those weren't too bad for you. Going through just a list of key terms. Now this is really, really important when looking at your answers, because this is how we mark them. So when me or Miss mark your paper that you're going to be doing for me in a couple of weeks' time, it is really, really important that you're including these types of key terms, because that is what pushes you up the mark bands. So if you remember, Miss circles, I underline, it doesn't matter how you do it really. But when we do that, we are underlining the key terms that are important. So have a good look at this. If your answer is missing any of these for a description question or an application question, you need to be going back through and having a look. Okay. Application then. Some of you have emailed me about what this means, okay, so branch. Branch just means the type of theory that it is, okay, so if you've ever heard me almost refer to a branch of theory, it just means what type of theory it is, and it's important that you do know what those are. So, let's look at the first one. It might be a while since you've done some application work. I know it does come up a little bit, obviously, in the other ACs, but it is quite predominant in the theories. So, all I would do again is just look over it and then highlight or underline your key points. So research in the 1960s, and it's talking about blood work. Straight away I would put Jacob's XYY, okay? Because blood work, okay? Scientific method, prisons, that's what I would go for. The next bit points out in a bit more detail, okay? So syndrome that could not be inherited. So we know that's Jacob's XYY. And what branch is that? That's obviously a genetic branch. So, next bit, remember sometimes you might get one with 2 in, okay, now they haven't done that in quite a while, but it's still a possibility. Some research done in the 1980s indicates that criminal activity can be genetic and indeed inherited, so that would be Mednick's adoption study. Just be careful, Jacob's XYY, you cannot inherit, okay, an extra Y chromosome. It's an error that occurs during fertilisation, so if it says not inherited, it's Jacob's XYY. If it mentions being inherited, then it's Mednick, okay? That one isn't too bad. Next one, really, really easy, this one, to be honest. Italian prisoners, okay, physical measurements. straight away you should be thinking Lombroso, and that is a physiological theory. It's physiological because it's talking about the physical aspects of a person. Okay, you can also have the link where it says about specific features as well. Remember, it's really important to talk about everything that is in the scenario. So do not miss anything out. Do not just mention physical measurements. Talk about it all. And another key theory argued that an individual's body shape is correlated with becoming a criminal. So body shape, we know that's Sheldon, also a physiological theory. Okay, next one. We've done this one in class. I know it seems like a while ago since we was in class, but hopefully you remembered it. Verbal and physical abuse. Now, if we was looking at individualistic theories, we might want to come on to kind of like Bandura or maybe Freud with traumatic trauma. But remember, okay, it is biological. So if you mentioned individualistic theories there, you would get no marks. So just be careful with that one. Okay. Large ears, large jaw, very long arms. Okay. Again, we know that's Lombroso, so physiological there. Never knew his father, lived with his mother and a succession of boyfriends. Again, you might want to think about if this was an individualistic question, which theory you could possibly use for that. In terms of biological though, extra Y chromosome, so we know that's Jacob's XYY, okay, and again, really important to remember is the charge, so grievous bodily harm, very, very violent, okay, normally using a weapon, so Jacob's XYY. So hopefully that helps a little bit. The one thing to be careful with on this type of question is if you've got a question that just says apply a biological theory, okay, and to Jimmy's situation or something like that, you could pick. But if it says apply a physiological theory, then you'd have to use Lombroso. If it said a genetic, you'd have to use Jacob. So don't get them mixed up because you wouldn't get any marks for that. Okay, this one's a bit harder because there isn't any kind of hooks that are blatantly obvious, but there is one. So, unemployed local man convicted of murder after getting into a fight with Ian over the allegation of theft of money. Also, numerous previous convictions for drug dealing. That's what I'm going to highlight there. Okay, murder, again, serious violent offence. I would then go for Jacobs because of that increased level of testosterone, the increased level of violence. It's obviously a man who's committing the offence. That's what I'd go for. Now, some of you might have put Mednick, maybe. Again, he might have inherited that violence from his father or something like that. I would go for Jacob's XYY just because I think it's just the best one to go for because there's no mention of parents or anything like that involved. Last one then. Struggling to decide what method. Photographs. And then physical form. Whilst others use the criminal records. Now, I've just realised. So, Sheldon I've put because of the photographs and then the physical form. But what I've also just seen is where it says criminal records. So actually, if you remember who else used criminal records, that would be Mednick, okay? So you could actually have Mednick for that one as well. So again, the branch, physiological and genetic. So Sheldon would be the photograph, physical form, criminal records, that would be Mednick because he obviously looked at that during his adoption studies. Okay, again, basic strengths and weaknesses there. They are not everything you need. You will need to back them up. You will need to explain them fully, so do not just rely on these. Now, I'm also aware it'll say twin and adoption studies. We haven't done twin studies, so don't worry about that too much. But the strengths and weaknesses are very, very similar, so don't worry about that. Okay, so there's some evaluation phrases there. You should be using all of these. These will help you explain your points and some exam questions that you can have a go at. Remember, the higher marks are going to be for these types of questions, so it is important that you are having a go at those. Okay, so I'll just go through these then. I've already uploaded the model answers for you to have a go at and for you to improve your work, but I'll just run through them. Name two physiological theorists, so Lombroso and Sheldon. Name 2 genetic would be Jacob's XYY and Mednick. They do like these types of questions now. Okay, so in terms of if you sat this paper in 2017, they weren't using these kind of identify short mark questions. They are now. So it is important that you know that basic knowledge, because you do not want to be dropping 4 marks there. Because as I'm sure you're aware now, 4 marks is the difference between like a B or an A. So it is important that you're not losing easy marks like that. Okay, outline 1 physiological theorist and how they view criminality. 4 marks, reasonably sized paragraph. Okay, specialist terms. I think I did the model on Lombroso, so I think if you ever get a question that says 1 physiological, I would always go for Lombroso, just because I think there's more specialist terms for that one, and there's more you can put in it. You don't have to, you can use Sheldon, that's absolutely fine, but if it was me, I would definitely go for Lombroso, because you can talk about the atavistic features, evolutionary throwback, that type of thing. So, next one. Now, this is one that can catch you out. So the reason I popped this in there is because this is one that may have catched a few of you out. So first thing I'm going to do is just highlight that, just to be sure. So biological can't speak today. Biological criminologists argue a variety of points. Some consider criminal activity as occurring due to outward appearance. So appearance, facial features and bodies. Hopefully you've spotted facial features, Lombroso, body, Sheldon, okay, can influence criminal behaviour. However, other theories argue that criminality can be passed on through families, and that certain traits, if my highlighter works, there we go, certain traits can be due to a genetic link. So, with reference to the above scenario, outline 1 genetic theory of criminality. Right, this is where it can catch you out. So it's asking for genetics. So if you answer on Lombroso or Sheldon, you're not going to get any marks. Okay, so really important that you don't make that mistake. And someone always does every single year, no matter how many times I say it. But it's really important that you're reading the question carefully. So let's have a look then. What genetic theory would we use? So criminality can be passed on through families. Passed on through families. That's inherited. That means, okay, it must be Mednick. So there's no mention here of XYY, of chromosomes. Genetic link, yes, but I would go for adoption studies on this one because it's passed on through families. Okay, so hopefully you've got that one. Again, you need to be using the wording of the scenario in your answers. So have a look at the model to see how I've done that, okay? But can be passed on through families, so you can talk about how it's inherited, you can talk about Mednick's study. If you remember Jeffrey Landrian we looked at, so that awful dramatisation, shall we say. Despite the bad acting, it was actually a really, really good representation, and it is a real case. It's not a made-up one, so you can use that as well. And then evaluate 1 biological theory, okay? 10 marks is a lot, so it is quite a longer mark question, and it's 1 biological theory. So if you've done more than 1, they'll only mark your first one, okay? On the model, I've done a model for Lombroso and a model for Sheldon, because I think those 2 are the more common ones to be answered. But if anyone does want models for the other 2, just drop me an email and I can send you one across for that. Okay, so, and the last bit then is just some question structure. So again, it's really important that you're doing your point, evidence, explain. So if you haven't done this task yet, okay, I strongly suggest you do it in order to familiarise yourself just with putting your point down, putting your evidence down, and what am I explaining about it. Because if you do this for all of your points, you'll be absolutely fine. So just remember about kind of the biological evaluation and the validation of theories in general. Normally, if you do 3 positives, so 3 strengths and 3 weaknesses, you won't go too far wrong. It depends how much detail you can put them in, really. Okay, so for this, you'll want 3 good strengths, 3 good weaknesses, and then a good conclusion at the end. Do not describe the theory. You don't need to. Don't even waste time doing a sentence on it, okay? Just go straight into your evaluation of your theory, okay? So hopefully that's helped you all with this booklet. I will drop you an email about the plans that are coming up in the next week or 2. I hope everyone's staying safe and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Alright guys, see you soon. Bye.